Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We have analyzed a lot of different scenarios on this show. We've looked at economic shifts, we've looked at historical collapses, we've even looked at the purely theoretical.
We have.
But today,
Mm-hmm.
today we are stepping into a world that is just so visceral. It's heavy.
Right.
And honestly, the source material makes it sound like it smells like the end of an era.
It really does. It's a narrative that, it demands you pay attention not just to the plot, but to the sensory details. It's incredibly atmospheric.
Absolutely. So I want to start this off a little differently. I want everyone listening just stop for a second. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road, obviously, but let your mind wander a bit.
Okay.
If you can, I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And I want you to try and conjure up a sound.
And we aren't talking about a scream here. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a chant, it's not a protest song, nothing like that.
No, it's a hum, a low, vibrating mechanical hum. The source material, specifically the Tar and Feathers manuscript we're engaging with today, calls it an eerie, groaning harmony.
That phrase really, really struck me. Groaning harmony.
It implies, well, it implies multiple machines working in concert but struggling. It's a very specific industrial frequency.
Yes.
It's the kind of sound you feel in your teeth as much as you hear with your ears, you know?
Exactly. And the source of the sound, it's woodchippers. Not one, not two. The text describes a fleet of them.
A fleet.
We're talking Vermeers, Moorbarks, Bandits, every make and model you can possibly imagine, and they all running at once. They're just idling, just waiting.
Waiting to be fed. And the context here is everything. I mean, these aren't sitting in a suburban yard on a Saturday afternoon while someone clears out some brush.
No, not at all. They are lined up on the pavement, right in front of the Capitol building.
That image alone just stops you cold, doesn't it? You have the this neoclassical symbol of order, of law, of the way things are supposed to be. The white marble, the dome.
And then parked right in front of it, you have this calliope of the end. That's what the manuscript calls it, a Dark Symphony. It totally transforms what we usually think of as just background noise, industrial maintenance, construction. It brings it right into the foreground.
It becomes an active threat.
It does. The sources describe it as a beast waiting for a meal. It feels alive in the text.
And it's not just the sound. The sources we have today, the Tar and Feathers manuscript and the analysis of the Sanitarium Nights, they paint this picture that engages every single sense. You've got that mechanical groaning, but then you have the smell.
Oh, the smell. I think the smell is arguably the most important detail in setting this whole scene.
The text describes it as suffocating. You have to imagine this. It's a cold morning. The air is crisp, clear, but cutting through that cold is the thick, oily smell of diesel exhaust from dozens of idling engines.
Which is heavy enough on its own.
Right. But it's mixing with something else, something much older, much more primitive.
The acrid scent of boiling tar.
That combination, diesel and tar, it's such a clash of eras.
It really is the thesis statement of this entire event, isn't it? You have the diesel, which represents the modern industrial world, the machine age, and it's colliding with the tar, which is this ancient, almost medieval form of public punishment.
The past and the present crashing together in the cold morning air.
Yeah.
So it sets the scene perfectly. We are in front of the Capitol. It's morning. The sources say there are 2,000 men standing there. 100 cauldrons of black, bubbling tar. The fleet of woodchippers. And the most terrifying part.
The silence.
The silence. The men aren't shouting. They're not chanting.
Which is always, always scarier than a riot. If you see a mob screaming and breaking windows, that's chaos. That's emotion. It can burn itself out. But silence.
Silence implies discipline.
It implies that the debate is over. When 2,000 men stand silently next to industrial machinery, they aren't there to negotiate. They're there to work.
It signals a shift from protest to process. And that is our mission today. We are going to analyze the Sanitarium Nights uprising and this concept of the Dark Symphony of the Sanitation. We're going to be walking through the unredacted files, and we're going to be following the narrative of two specific characters mentioned in the documents, R.L., or Ron Lancer, and his young protege, A.J., or Arnold James.
And I'm really glad we're focusing on RL and AJ, because if you just look at the violence or the spectacle of the woodchippers, you miss the human element. You miss the heart of it.
You miss the why.
Exactly. These two characters, they represent the central tension of this entire deep dive.
It's not just about the external revolution. It's about the internal struggle.
Precisely. It's the struggle between mourning the loss of a stable, predictable past, even if that stability was, built on a complete lie, and the fierce, necessary, terrified joy of a violent rebirth.
It's the no more generation colliding with the what have we done generation.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So buckle up. We are going to trace this journey from the very beginning, the digital awakening and what the text calls the telepathy of the betrayed, all the way to the clinical industrial removal of the global elite.
Let's get back to that atmosphere for just a moment, because the visual language in these sources is incredibly deliberate, and I think it really helps the listener inhabit this space.
Okay, yeah. We mentioned the Capitol. The contrast there is so stark. The manuscript talks about the pristine white marble, the symbol of high civilization, and then this stain spreading out in front of it.
The cauldrons of black, bubbling tar, it's a visual contamination of the seat of power. It's like a bruise on the face of the government.
Right. And then there's this other detail that just gave me chills. The bales of feathers.
Silent witnesses.
That's the phrase. Bales of white feathers stacked on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And then the smoke. The text describes ribbons of oily black smoke rising from the diesel and the tar, creating this dark canvas in the sky.
And against that black smoke,
You have loose feathers fluttering in the updraft.
it's the ghost birds.
Yes. Ghost birds carrying messages to unseen watchers.
That imagery is... Wow, it's doing so much heavy lifting. Think about who the unseen watchers are.
They're the people in the penthouses, the people in the office towers looking down, the elites.
Exactly. If you're standing in a high-rise window and you look down to see black smoke and white feathers swirling, you don't need a press release to know what's happening.
No, you know.
No.
You know exactly what's happening. It signals that the rules of engagement have fundamentally changed. The feathers aren't just debris, they are a message.
And as you mentioned, the silence of the 2,000 men just amplifies that message. It turns it from chaos into a procedure.
From a riot into a sanitation.
Precisely.
Okay, let's talk about the tools. Because this is where the modern utility concept comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The wood chipper is the star of the show here, unfortunately, for some.
It is the central symbol, and this is where the character RL really comes into focus for us.
Right. RL has this specific flashback that's mentioned in the text. He's standing there in the cold, listening to the hum of the machines, and his mind just drifts back.
Back to a simpler time.
A much simpler time. He remembers renting a wood chipper for a Saturday afternoon to clear some brush in his yard.
A completely and totally benign memory. The most normal suburban thing you can imagine.
Exactly. He describes the smell of sawdust and gasoline, the vibration in his hands. He calls it satisfying in a suburban dad kind of way. It was just a chore. It was property maintenance.
It represents the old world, a world of predictability, a world where tools were just tools, and your biggest worry was getting the yard looking nice for a barbecue.
But now, standing there in this dark symphony, that memory is corrupted. It's tainted. The wood chipper isn't a yard tool anymore.
No, it's a beast waiting to be fed. It's a tool for sanitation.
And that transformation is key to understanding the mindset of the Sanitarium Knights. They haven't invented new weapons. They didn't bring lasers or, sci-fi tech.
No, they repurpose the tools of labor. This concept of modern utility is all about bringing ancient symbols back to their roots, but applying them with brutal industrial efficiency.
Let's break that down for a minute. Let's start with tar.
Okay, tar. Originally, tar was a sealant. It was utilitarian. You used it to keep water out of boats, to patch roofs. But here it becomes the black ledger.
A permanent record.
A permanent record. It marks the truth on your skin. You can't wash it off. It's a permanent stain that says, we know what you did. It's sticky. It's undeniable.
Okay. Feathers.
That one's more direct. It's mockery. The sources refer to the elites as mockingbirds. The media class, the talking heads, the high flyers.
Right.
Covering them in feathers grounds them. It turns them into a flightless, ridiculous caricature. It says, you aren't an eagle, you're a chicken.
It's a humiliation tactic.
A very old and very effective one.
And the wood chippers.
That is the illogical industrial conclusion. If the crime is cabalistic and cannibalistic, as the files suggest, if the crime is the consumption of the people, then a prison cell isn't enough. It's not proportional. The wood chipper represents erasure.
Erasure. That's a powerful and terrifying word.
It is. It denies the monster a grave. It denies them a legacy. It turns their elite status into mulch. It's the ultimate removal of the infection.
It's not just killing the person.
It's erasing the history of the person. It's saying you never even deserve to be buried in the earth you betrayed.
That is heavy.
Yeah.
But it makes a certain kind of horrifying sense in the context of the source material. It's not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's about hygiene, social hygiene.
Exactly. Hence the name sanitation. They don't view themselves as soldiers or executioners. They view themselves as custodians, janitors.
This brings us right to the heart of the episode. The people doing the sanitizing. We have RL and we have AJ. Can you walk us through the difference between these two? Because they're standing on the same sidewalk, holding the same pitchforks, but they are feeling very, very different things.
They are worlds apart, emotionally. RL, Ron Lancer, he represents the bridge between the worlds. He remembers the stasis. He remembers the world before the files dropped. He remembers the illusion of safety, the comfort of it. AJ, Arnold James, is the young protege. He represents the no more generation. He never believed in the illusion in the first place. For him, it was always a cage.
There's that moment in the text where AJ looks at the woodchippers and he grins. He actually grins. And he turns to RL and says, "Can you hear it? It's the most beautiful song I've ever heard."
That line gave me goosebumps. To AJ, that mechanical groan isn't scary. It's the sound of freedom. It's the sound of the cage breaking. He views the old world, the world RL is mourning, as nothing but a prison.
But RL corrects him. He doesn't let that stand.
He does. RL calls the sound a funeral dirge. He says, don't mistake a funeral dirge for a lullaby. He sees the necessity of it, but he feels the tragedy.
There's another line of his that really stuck with me. "I'm glad the no has been said, but I'm sad that we were the ones who had to say it."
That's it. That's the whole conflict right there. It's the burden of the executioner. RL isn't mourning the corruption. He knows the elite were monsters. He has read the files. He's not naive.
So what is he mourning?
He's mourning the softness of the gilded cage. He's looking at his hands, which are probably stained with soot and diesel, and remembering when those hands just fixed furnaces or held his children's hands.
He's mourning the loss of innocence. Not just his own, but for his kids.
That's the deepest cut for him, according to the text. He has this profound realization that his children will never know the predictable comforts of the old system. They won't have that cushion of ignorance. They are inheriting the between.
The between. Let's dig into that concept. What does that mean?
It's a frontier. It's a construction zone. It's not a finished home with, a warranty and an instruction manual. RL has this heartbreaking realization that his children will learn how to sharpen a blade before they learn how to read a storybook.
Because they have to. The world requires it now.
Because safety is no longer guaranteed by some abstract system. It's something you have to build yourself every day. He knows that to achieve this freedom, this truth, they have to lose their innocence.
So there's pride and sadness at the same time?
Immense pride and profound sadness. He is proud that he is giving them authentic stability, real truth, a solid foundation, but he is devastated by the cost of it.
And there's that line about the sanitizers themselves. You can never truly turn them back into neighbors.
That's the tragedy of RL. He knows that once you turn 2,000 good men mechanics, teachers, fathers into a machine of disposal, into sanitarium knights, they are fundamentally changed.
There's no going back.
None. They have seen too much. They have done too much. They can't just go back to the barbecue on Sunday and pretend that this morning didn't happen. It's a one-way trip.
And RL is the only one old enough to really feel the weight of what's being left behind, whereas AJ only sees the horizon.
Exactly. AJ doesn't know what he's lost, only what he's gaining. RL knows both.
So how did we get here? How did we get from, normal life to 2,000 men with wood chippers on Capitol Hill? The sources talk about the awakening and the static.
The static is such a great term for the modern condition, isn't it? The source material defines it as the manufactured noise, the low-level anxiety, the constant division, the 247 media cycle designed to keep people distracted and fighting each other over scraps.
And the Mockingbirds were the ones generating it.
The media class, the talking heads who maintained the illusion, they were the amplifiers of the static. Their job was to make sure you never looked at the real problem.
Then came the unredacted drop.
Right, and this wasn't just a leak, it was a deluge. Millions and millions of pages of what the system itself called bureaucratic bloat.
Which was their camouflage. They thought no one would ever read it all.
They underestimated the sheer boredom and tenacity of the public. They weaponized boredom, but it backfired.
The internet sleuths.
The text mentions them specifically. These anonymous armies of online researchers, they used algorithms to just chew through the noise, through the static. They cross-referenced everything, and eventually they found the clean copy databases.
And what was in those?
Everything. The shipping manifests that didn't add up, the offshore accounts, the flight logs. They found the receipts. They exposed the true evil actors behind the curtain of bureaucracy.
And when the system realized it was exposed? when they knew the public had the receipts.
They tried to pull the plug. They tried to kill the light, as the source puts it.
The emergency broadcast system.
Yes. The sources describe this moment where the EBS shrieks across every device. The Mockingbirds go live, all reading from the same AP script about a megalithic mushroom cloud, a fake nuclear attack.
The ultimate distraction. Look over there, it's the end of the world. Forget about those files.
Exactly. But it failed. And this is a key turning point in the whole narrative. The source material says people simply looked out their windows
And saw a clear blue sky.
They looked at the screen, which was shouting about nuclear war, and then they looked at the reality of the blue sky outside their own window. And in that moment, the trust didn't just break, it evaporated.
They realized it was a lie. A final, desperate lie.
And that's when the blackout hit. The whole system went dark.
The DNA trigger. This part of the manuscript is fascinating. The comms go black. No internet, no phones, no TV. But the uprising coordinates anyway.
Yes. The text compares it to a dog turning in circles before it lies down. It's a genetic imperative. It wasn't a digital coordination, it was a biological one. When the artificial digital static was finally removed, an ancient code kicked in.
The telepathy of the betrayed.
That's what they call it. The sources describe how, for months, memes of pitchforks and little heart fork emojis had been circulating online as dog whistles. Benign-looking symbols.
Modern hieroglyphics.
Exactly. But when the lights went out, that digital language became physical action. Everyone just knew what to do.
There's that scene at the hardware store with RL and this guy named Miller. It's so subtle, but it is so effective.
It's chilling. Miller just taps a big industrial wood chipper on the showroom floor. He doesn't say anything overt. He just mentions something about taking bids for municipal use.
And RL understands completely.
They don't have to say, "We are rising up tomorrow at dawn." A look and a tapped machine communicated everything. They knew the infection had been identified and the sanitation was now just a matter of logistics.
So the mob, or rather the sanitation crew, arrives at the Capitol. And here is where it gets really interesting. You'd expect a battle. You'd expect the police, the federal agents, the shields as they're called, to open fire.
But they don't.
Yeah.
They turn.
This is the moment the regime truly dies. It's not when the people arrive, it's when the enforcers switch sides.
Why, though? What made them turn?
The sources say they had seen the files, too. They realized they weren't protecting a country, but a harvest. They realized the thin blue line they were so proud of was just a fence used to keep the cattle in for the farmers.
So they turned their backs on the mob and faced the building.
It's such a powerful visual, and it's described not as a surrender, but as a penance. They become the ushers for the reckoning. They hand over the keys. They hand over their tactical tablets with building layouts.
And the entry, it wasn't like the storming of the Bastille. No, not at all. It was clinical, industrial. The sources are clear. No broken glass, no screaming, no looting. RL walks in and says he doesn't feel like an intruder.
He feels like a homeowner discovering rot in the floorboards.
Right. He's just there to call the exterminator, or in this case, to be the exterminator.
They had the clean copy databases burned into their minds. They knew exactly which doors to open.
Exactly which offices held the monsters.
Okay, let's talk about what they found, the crimes and the harvest. Because the sources use some very specific, very horrific language here. Malignancy, cannibalistic.
It's meant to convey that this goes far beyond simple political or financial corruption. The files, according to the manuscript, reveal a global, cabalistic, cannibalistic trafficking organization.
And it's the specific examples of complicity that are so disturbing because they are so mundane.
Right. The school photo company.
Tell us about that.
We all know that company. The one that, shames parents into buying those deluxe photo packages every year. The files reveal this was actually part of a laundering and tracking system for the trafficking network.
So it turns a harmless childhood tradition into something deeply sinister.
It co-opted the mundane. It hid in plain sight.
And the chrysalis?
The pandemic. The source material claims the files reveal the pandemic was a cover for a genetic overwrite. A genetic annexation.
Okay, what does that even mean? A genetic overwrite?
This is the idea that the injections were designed to slowly turn the human race into biological proxies for a single man or a single cabal, to fundamentally alter human DNA on a global scale.
That's a horrifying concept.
It creates a clear distinction in the population, which becomes critical for what happens next, the clean bloods versus the polluted.
And this plays out on the sidewalk in front of the Capitol. They have these portable sequencers set up next to the woodchippers.
It's a sorting mechanism, a triage station. The text is careful to distinguish between two types of people who took the injection. First, there are the indoctrinated.
The ones who did it out of fear.
Exactly. Or social pressure, or to keep a job. They are regarded with pity in the text. They are seen as victims suffering from turbocancers and neurological damage. They aren't the targets.
But then there's the psychopathic compliant.
The compliance captains. The ones who enjoyed the tyranny. The ones who screamed at people in grocery stores, who told on their neighbors, who enforced the mandates with glee.
These are the ones targeted for the sanitation of the spirit.
Via tar and feathers, yes. It's a specific punishment for a specific crime. The betrayal of the tribe, of your neighbors.
Okay, we're at the execution phase. The sanitation is in full swing. We have the first official brought out, a new CEO.
A very symbolic first choice. The head of the Mockingbirds. He's in a bespoke suit, looking completely bewildered. He's been stripped of his digital armor, his platform.
And trial is simple.
Incredibly simple. A finger prick. The sequencer flashes a synthetic purple color. The readout just says polluted.
And the result?
The wood chipper. The text describes the man's expensive suit jacket and the white feathers from the ground swirling together in the machine's intake. It's total, absolute erasure.
Then we have the Secretary of State. This scene at the wrought iron gates it's like something out of a movie.
It is. RL confronts him, and he offers him a choice. A grim choice, but a choice nonetheless.
He says, confess, and you get clean exit, which in this context means straight to the chipper.
A quick end. Don't confess, RL tells him, and you get the bucket of boiling tar first.
And there's that line from RL. He says, you're a smart man. You know exactly what it looks like to be marked for eternity.
That's the power of the tar. It's not about the pain. It's about the visual mark of shame that lasts forever, or at least until the end. And the secretary breaks.
He confesses.
He sings. He reveals what the text calls the unholy trinity of real estate.
The key locations of the entire operation.
Yes. The Virgin Islands, which the files identified as the site of the harvest horrors. The Nevada Ranch, the site of the genetic field testing, the architect's bunker, and Manhattan penthouse, the grooming ground where the blackmail traps were set.
And this information going public is what leads to the global exodus. The elites are fleeing, they're scrambling for their private jets.
The exodus of the gilded. They think they can just fly away to their private islands, their bunkers in New Zealand. But there is no away, there's no escape. The ground crews in London, the pilots in the Andes, the dock workers in the Mediterranean, they have seen the files too. The telepathy is global.
So the jets land.
And they are met by local watchers, and in many cases, more wood chippers on the tarmac. It's the ultimate trap, the realization that the entire planet, the working class of the entire world, has rejected the infection.
Wow. It is a lot to take in. It's a story of absolute, total, and terrifyingly efficient reckoning.
It is. And as we start to wrap up, I just want to go back to that final visual. RL is standing there. The first disposal has happened. The CEO is gone. And the feathers are mixing with the black smoke.
And the Mockingbirds are silent.
The only sound left is the Dark Symphony, the groaning harmony of the wood chippers.
It really makes you think about the nature of justice, doesn't it, where the line is.
It does.
Yeah.
It forces you to reflect on this circular evolution the text mentions. Society moved from pitchforks to courts, thinking that was progress, that was civilization.
But when the courts failed.
When the courts became part of the crime, society went right back to the pitchforks. Only this time, they brought industrial machines with them.
It raises a provocative question for all of us listening. We talk about justice, we talk about cleaning up corruption.
Yeah.
But you have to consider the heavy price of the no more.
Right. Is it possible to wash the stain of sanitation from your hands? Even if it was necessary to save the future, even if it was the only way to save the children? Does the act of using the wood chipper change you forever? Can RL ever go back to being just a suburban dad?
And that final haunting thought from the manuscript, that the wood chipper doesn't just kill, it denies the harvest a legacy. It erases them so completely that it's as if they never were.
A dark symphony indeed.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time. Stay curious.
And maybe keep your eyes on the smoke.